A couple of weeks ago, my friends and I played a Mork Borg one-shot. It's this doom metal tabletop role-playing game that is actually super fun and rules light. The design of the book is so fantastic. It's got me thinking about how to make role-playing game books, but at the same time, it's very much the opposite of my style. So I've been stuck writing at the computer all week and thought it would be fun to get my hands a little dirty and draw a Mork Borg monster. I've pulled out a bunch of art supplies to play with. Got a pencil, an eraser, some pens, Posca markers, a brush and ink, whiteout for mistakes, and even a glue stick and an X-Acto knife. Because I've printed off a bunch of patterns from Photoshop brushes. I'll have the info on how to download the brushes in the description. If you have Photoshop, you can get them for free. And my idea with these patterns is to do a little bit of collaging with this drawing. So I'll be cutting out shapes from these patterns and gluing them directly onto the illustration. Like I said, getting my hands dirty. So jumping straight in, this is King Karcharnis, the Rending Maw. As usual, I'm started with a quick pencil sketch. My goal for this illustration is to not get caught up making things look perfect. They're supposed to be messy and dirty like Mork Borg stuff, so that means keeping the sketch real loose and squiggly. Next up, I'm jumping straight in with one of the fine tip Posca markers, just getting some outlines going. And maybe I should have started with collage stuff, but I'm just too excited to draw. I love making a sketch into a solid and final thing by adding thick black lines to it. I think it's probably my favorite part of drawing. Inking, it's the best. But as I'm going here, I'm kind of realizing that I'm approaching this giant shark dude like every other drawing I do. So I'm gonna switch over to a regular ballpoint pen and do some rough hatching to make this drawing look dirtier. Just a bunch of lines next to each other that give some shadow and texture, but I'm also following the shape or the volume of the shark to give this character a little more depth and dimension with this hatching too. So I'm switching back and forth between the small Posca, the big Posca, the ballpoint pen, and a white paint pen. Just having fun drawing, trying to add some different textures to the illustration. At this point, I've totally forgotten about the collage stuff, which would have been a great way to literally add texture into the drawing, but I'm just having too much fun switching between all these different types of pens. So my pal Kyle Latino, who you might know from his YouTube channel called Mapcrow, was one of the other players in this Mork Borg game, and maybe it's just because we've been chatting a bunch lately, or because I've been watching a bunch of his videos and his art streams, but I've kind of ended up making a Kyle drawing here. Like I said earlier, this creepy horror monster drawing stuff is not my usual style, but I'm making an effort to add more detail and keep things sketchy and also sort of age up or maturify the character, and I feel like I'm unintentionally making a poor version of a Kyle drawing. It's not a bad thing, I just wanted to acknowledge it. And actually, if you like this drawing, or you're interested in more monster drawing videos, or really if you just like my channel at all and you don't know about Kyle's channel Mapcrow, you gotta go check it out. I'll have a link down in the description. Totally awesome stuff. He makes great map videos and draws the best monsters. Do yourself a favor and go subscribe to Mapcrow. Okay, who is King Karcharnis? Well, it's kind of a secret. My pal Scott, who ran the Mork Borg one-shot, we're working on a little project together, and this drawing is the first test for that project. I guess you could call King Karcharnis a boss monster, but that's all the clues I'm gonna give out. Actually, I'll give one more. If the players can defeat King Karcharnis, they might acquire something similar to a great rune. But that's all I'm saying. I'll have more info about this very fun project that's going on at a later time. Okay, now that the illustration is basically done, I'm remembering about the collage stuff and I want to get it in there somehow. So I'm cutting out the king here and I'm going to put him on top of just a sort of simple collage background. And now that I'm cutting him out, it's actually super cool. It's like he's a giant, huge paper miniature. So of course I'm going to start off with my favorite grid pattern. It almost feels like a signature at this point. So I think Carcharnus will be stepping onto this grid and maybe I'll add some sort of type or something later on. Next, I'm going to cut out this sort of wave pattern. The idea is that Carcharnus is rising up out of the water, so the wave kind of represents water and the grid represents land. And oh man, even though this is the most basic collage ever, I'm really liking how this is all coming together. I wish I would have incorporated a few more patterns into the actual drawing, but you know, I guess that's why we do these sort of test illustrations, right? Yeah, I'm just making myself feel better. Okay, now it's time to stick it all together. I feel like I'm making a zine by hand. You know, where's my photocopier? It's so much fun making stuff by hand. It somehow feels more rewarding than working on the computer. I guess because I'm creating something that I can immediately feel and hold in my hands. It just makes it feel more real. And at this point, I want to encourage you to give drawing your own monsters a shot. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You know, you could even cut up a bunch of other drawings and stick them together to make some crazy monster. You know, just have fun making something with pens and paper. Now, all that being said, I do want to add some splatters and a little bit of color to the drawing, but I'm really afraid of messing up what I have so far. So I'm actually going to snap a picture on my phone and bring it into Photoshop to finish this illustration up. On the computer, I'm just playing with levels, adding some distressing and dirt and grime with the splatter brush, you know, all the Mork Borg stuff. Maybe I'll make a video down the line about how I kind of do things in Photoshop. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comments. Now, one thing I want to do is add some color because all of the Mork Borg stuff is black and white, and then it has this crazy bright yellow color added to it. Just to be a little bit different, I'm going to go with my favorite cyan color and add some hits of yellow just to add a little bit of detail and interest, kind of get your eye looking at the king's eye. So yeah, King Carcharnus is coming to life. And with that, if you'd like to support this channel, check out my Patreon where I make monthly tabletop role-playing game adventure zines. This month, I'm releasing a game about busting ghosts. It's going to be a fun one. Definitely check out the Patreon. Let me know what you think of this monster drawing down in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. See ya!